We are live.
We're live. Great. We'll talk about that later.
They probably just got the little glimpse of circus performer. And then,
Yeah.
all right, now we're talking to Arda from BoltRail.
How's it going, everybody?
How's it going? Everything's fine. Great. Thanks. It's so good to see you, meet you in person.
Yeah.
We had you on the show last year. We were doing a Zoom call, which was great. Which I first discovered you last year at CCE.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and I knew it right away. I knew exactly what you designed and invented, and how much and how valuable it is for the industry, right? Like, it's extremely. You probably have seen the company grow quite a bit with interest.
Yeah, it's been a great, we've been marketing for a little over a year, and the interest in the product is excellent. It's actually starting to go international, so...
You're getting all over across the pond now.
We're getting interest in California, Texas, South Africa. Yeah, it's really interesting. Possibly soon in the UK and Australia. We're talking to a couple of guys there as well. So.
Well, I mean, construction is only getting bigger, right? So it kind of makes sense that these designers, these architects, these people, they want to come up with these structures that are more challenging, but there needs to be new ways of making these things happen, right?
Yeah. Well, it's I don't know if you know, but construction is the only industry in North America that's lost efficiency over the last 20, 25 years.
Well, I didn't know that.
Every other industry has been gaining efficiency except for construction. So
why do you think it's lost?
Oh, I think part of it...
Is it connected to labor?
Possibly some of it is labor. There's a big labor shortage, but there's also so many more hoops for the guys to jump through in terms of legislation and things like that. You know, so I mean, we globally we lead. You know, there's a lot of places like I'd go traveling a lot, and you'd see guys doing construction, and you'd see what's happening. You'd say that would never be allowed. You know, in Canada or in the U.S., like the safety and whatnot, right? So we take it to a really high standard, but then things come along with that in terms of efficiency as well. That.
It's funny you bring that up, Arda, because the thing is that how were all these cities built? They were built by all these hardworking individuals that did it, where we didn't have, and I'm not saying, I'm not encouraging that we should be building back in that way, but there was a drive back then to do it.
Yeah.
But it's a different landscape. But I mean, that's not what, I mean, I'd love to dive into that more further with you if we got some time, but I mean, I really still want to talk about BoltRail. I want to talk about what you guys are doing and sharing, because I'm a huge fan. I'm not even part of that sector, but I'm a huge fan of it, right?
If you've done the task or you work with concrete and construction,
you get it.
You get it. As soon as you see the product, you get it.
Yeah.
And it's done the same way everywhere in the world. So everybody who sees it, it's connecting with people. Yeah.
So we're live on YouTube on our channel. We're at the Canadian Concrete Expo. We're at booth 1106. Your booth, BoltRail, is in, what hall is it in?
Hall 3.
Hall 3, and it's booth number 3035. But then on this show, we've got some video, we've got some images. We want to talk about what you guys have been engineering. Even off mic before the day started, you were showing me some of the stuff that you were playing around with.
Yeah.
And I'm just fascinated by what you designed and what you came up with, because you're getting people reach out to you. I got this situation, and you should reach out to and speak to you. All of a sudden, your name comes up, which is actually a good feeling, no?
It is, yeah. I tell people this, but I feel like in the last decade, we've thought more about setting anchor bolts into wet concrete than anybody else in the world, right? So we've put a lot of thought into this, and come up with some really unique solutions.
But it's extremely important how those bolts get anchored into that concrete and how they set into that concrete and not move.
Absolutely.
We've seen the horror stories where all of a sudden you'll see an image of, like, they didn't use BoltRail.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, we sort of see a couple of things in the industry. We see a group of guys who do it really well, but then they spend a whole bunch of time building a structure to hang those bolts over the forms, which they use once and they throw away. And like, if you take the time to do it really well, you do it well, but it's time consuming and expensive.
Yeah.
The other group tends to do it not as well. Quick and dirty, but they're counting on the fact that they're going to fix things afterwards, whether it's hammering the bolts straight afterwards or flame cutting base plates, and so there's a bunch of rework and costs associated to it. Worst case scenario, though, is if the structure comes and it doesn't stand up on the bolts. If it doesn't fit the anchor bolts and they can't erect the steel, now you can be looking at major cost implications, schedule loss, even legal battles.
Yeah, it just becomes it becomes dirty construction at that point.
Yeah.
When you could just spend the time and effort and do it. And I mean, what you guys have created is just pure efficiency.
It is, yeah.
Like it's not like, if you've got a very skilled tradesperson who understands the premise behind what they're doing when it comes to this part of construction, they will grasp it right away, right? Like they're you don't need a manual. Is what I'm trying to say, right?
It's interesting because we have people stop by the booth, and as soon as they see the product, especially if they work with anchor bolt setting, they get it right away. And we start explaining, they're like, no, I get it, I understand it. It's like, that's great. But there is a few things about the product that's quite versatile. It can be used in a number of different ways. So once you wrap your head around a few little features and benefits and things that you can do with the product, you realize, I can solve quite a few anchor bolt setting challenges with this product. So we've had some great feedback. We can get into that.
I want to get into that. I haven't even shared. So it's basically, www.boltrail.com, arda@boltrail.com, IG is bolt.rail, and you can also reach you guys at info@boltrail.com.
That's right, yeah.
All right, so where do you want to begin? Because I know that you showed me some toys where, what was the size of the diameter of that bolt?
We can get into that. We did a really unique job in LA, but maybe we can just start with
where do you start from the beginning, for sure.
Let's show like a standard. So these are...
Look how nice that looks.
Yeah, that's
awesome,
right?
People talk about like granite countertops and shaker.
Yeah. You know what? It brings an elegance to this task because
it brings a huge. Look at that.
So this job was on a remote site in southern Alberta. It was for a base for a pump on a pipeline, and they set 40 anchor bolts before their first coffee break in the morning. So they start in the morning, and this was supposed to be a 1 to 2 day template building and anchor bolt setting sort of a thing, and we were done before the first coffee break in the morning. So huge success, and everything fit perfectly. It's one big unit that has to come and sit over top of these 40 anchor bolts. It's flanged big pump.
So the bolts have to be exactly where they have to be. The crosshairs are bang on.
Yes, yeah.
Now, was the crew surprised by it?
Oh, very much so, yeah.
It's like they're going to the site super going, what are we going to do now?
Well, so that was, I don't know if I should share the rest of these details, but it was a little bit funny because I was coming down to take photographs, and I'm driving, and I had a bit of a drive ahead of me, and they had budgeted Friday and Saturday to set anchor bolts. That was in their construction sort of schedule, and then more material wasn't supposed to come till Monday. And I'm driving down Friday morning, and I started I get a phone call in the car, and it's not even 10 o'clock, and they're like, we're done.
I'm
like, what do you mean you're done? I'm like, I'm okay. I was hoping to get photos of the install. So all I got were photos of after the install.
The completion.
So I get down there, and they're like, they're on the client site, and they've budgeted 2 days, up to 2 days, to build templates and hang bolts, and they're done. And like, what do we don't have anything coming till Monday. Like, what are we going to do for the next 1 3/4 days? So
did they pull up the concrete?
No, no, they didn't. So
okay, so everyone could photograph it now.
Yeah, well, so they spent a lot of time remeasuring the setting just to keep busy, double check, triple check, quadruple check.
But everything was lined up correctly,
so
it was all designed. Yeah. So walk us through, because I know that we've done the show before with you, and it was done through a Zoom, so it's a little more challenging when we're getting the images and going back and forth. But you're given a set of, drawings. You're getting a task, and then you have your products that you've designed, right? But was this a special case?
It was
custom?
It was a little bit special in that the rails that we manufactured for this job were longer than our standard ones. We make this product in 4 standard lengths: 26-inch, 33-inch, 45-inch, and 55-inch. And I don't know if you have another photo that we can sort of switch to. So you can see on the left-hand side of this photo, you can see the support there. That support slides in and out of the rail. So the width of the tool is adjustable to the width of your form. So as long as you start...
What's the range?
Well, the 55-inch is the biggest one, right?
Yeah.
But the 55-inch one will cinch down to anything smaller than 55 inches. The 33-inch one will cinch down to anything smaller than 33 inches, etc. So it's got that width adjustability. And then you can see the elements there that hold the bolts in place. Those also slide within the rail. The standard system comes... As a lot of people ask us, is this... do we assemble it? Like, do you just get the part?
No.
It's a finished product. It's off of the back of your truck, onto the form, and it sets up in place.
Just bring the bolt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just add bolt. Yeah,
just add bolt.
That should be our next tagline. But yeah, and then you can add as many of the bolt holders as you want into the rails. It comes with 2, so you can do bolt. Like here, we've got a bolt setting that took 6 bolts, right? The nice thing is, like, if you spend time building a template to hang your bolts, that's a single-use thing that you're building. So all of the energy, time, labor, and materials that you put into that template right now, you use once typically and you throw away. And that's a lot of lost labor, right? So if you're looking for efficiency, this system sets up in 5 to 7 minutes. And what we're hearing is, if you're not using it carefully, 4 to 6 reuses. If you're using it carefully, 8 to 10 reuses. So when you get into a product, say for about $135, $140 for two of them, and you're getting, say, 5 reuses out of it, and you're in the $25 to $30 mark per pile cap, and you're in the 5 to 7 minute mark to set up your anchor bolts, that's a level of efficiency that's just unheard of in this task.
Versus the cost of labor, I guess, having to do it, start every time, rebuild it again.
Last year we were hearing cost estimates for standard pile caps in the $120 to $150 to build a template and hang 4 bolts. The time, materials, labor, etc. involved, was in the $120 to $150 range. So even with a single use of the product, you're competitive. If you're getting 2 or 3 uses, you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah.
If you're getting 5 or 6 uses, maybe we've overbuilt it. I don't know. So
no, I don't think you overbuilt it. I think you're educating the industry is what you're doing because it's a no-brainer. You use this.
Yeah.
You set the bolts and you go to town and it's done. You're ready for concrete.
Yeah, it's a very robust product. We've put a lot of time and effort into thinking about and developing it. In the last year, we've made 2 or 3 improvements to the product. We're continually trying to make it better, and we really take the feedback from the industry seriously. So if you used the product last year and you get the new ones now, you're going to see major improvements.
Yeah. But you could still use last year.
Oh yeah. I mean, it worked great.
Work them and use them, and it's done. But now you're just making them improvements, right?
Yeah, we're perfectionists. If we see a way to make this better, we jump on it. So
totally. What's the next image you want to talk about?
I don't know. Let's see. I'm not sure what you have in front of your computer, but let's.
Look how clean that looks. I mean, that just makes so much sense to me.
So let's talk about this image a little bit here. You'll notice, compared to traditional templates that are built out of plywood, this thing sits an inch above the forms.
Yep.
So it gives you lots of room and space to get the concrete in, vibrate the concrete, finish in around the anchor bolts, right? So it gives you a lot more room to work. We make it out of LVL lumber. It's extremely strong, rigid. It's dimensionally stable. And everything is made in Edmonton, Alberta. This is a Canadian product. We're patented in North America.
Wow.
But we are 100% Canadian.
So right now, the shop right now back home is just working away.
Yeah, we've got a company in Edmonton that makes the plastic parts for us.
Okay.
We're not in the plastic injection business, but all of the wood and assembly is done in Nisku, just outside of Edmonton. So
awesome.
We're very proud of that fact that we're
keep it in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of nice.
Yeah. But it's very clean. So this is.
Now this is some backyard action. What's going on here? The playground?
So I was telling you, we've thought a lot about setting up anchor bolts over the last 10 years, developing this product. And last year we were at World of Concrete in Vegas, and a company out of Los Angeles saw us there, and they contacted us last summer and said, we have this anchor bolt setting challenge, and we were told you guys could help. And I said, okay, well, send us your foundation drawings, and we'll figure out how many bolt rails you need to do your job and what length, counting on X number of reuses, etc. And so they sent us the drawings, and they were setting 4,000-pound anchor bolt cages, 2¼ inch diameter bolts, 7 feet long, arranged in these circular, patterns, these cages, for 100-foot tall electrical transmission lines. And so I called them back and said, have you guys seen our product? They said, no, but we were told from higher up in the company that you guys were the ones to talk to. I said, I'm going to send you some information about BoltRail. Our standard product won't do that, but I thought, we'd always talked about doing custom work and heavier sort of versions. And I said, but we can help you out, but we'd give you guys a custom engineered solution, for your job. And so give us some more information. Anyways, they gave us the information. It was 12 or 13 different arrangements of anchor bolts. They were going over a 9-foot diameter steel caisson that was 90 feet in the ground, and they had to hang this cage over top of it. So we got to work. We put together a proposal, did some engineering, did some modeling, and you might see one of those images come up. The computer model is that one there.
Oh, there you go.
So we were kind of figuring out how this thing would go together, and we gave them a proposal, and they accepted it. So we designed this steel and aluminum version of BoltRail, 12 feet long, designed and engineered to hold 4,000 pounds of bolt, taking into consideration the sag and everything. And then we had to create this system that was fully adjustable. So you had to get this thing in the right elevation and in the right horizontal, so everything was adjustable, just like our standard system, and sliding on Teflon bearings and locked in place with threaded rods and locking mechanisms. And, they were spending if I recall correctly, they were saying they would spend 3/4 of a day to set up these cages or more, and they were down to 1 hour or less. So simple system, reuse. They had 21 to do on that job. As far as I know, they're still either nearly complete or they're still reusing the system that they bought from us. So.
The exact same one is being applied to every single one.
And it, once you set up the support frame for it, there it is right there. So you can see on one end the height adjustment. You can see all the components. They're doing their final survey checks. We found out that the surveyors loved it. It just made their life a lot easier.
Because it was just a check mark across the board.
Yeah. And you can see, the ground conditions are always different, so this frame is adjustable for elevation. And, you can see the threaded rods locking all the components in place once it's all set. But once that frame was set up, it goes together with 16 bolts. It's just hoisted and moved into the next location. You don't disassemble anything. So it just goes down. The system gets, our system is used to hoist everything up, and then it just gets dropped down onto the frame, and then it's got sliders on bearings that you can position and set it up. So,
Arda, were you, when you first heard about it, were you a little nervous about it? Because it wasn't a typical BoltRail, but technically this is still a BoltRail.
It is, yeah, and still covered under our patents and everything, but nervous, no, but as often happens, you underestimate the amount of time that goes into designing something and all the little things you got to work out. So there was a lot of challenges that had to be thought about. This wasn't, you can't pass one of these bolts up through a bolt holder. So we had to come up with different systems, but it works beautifully.
Works really well, huh? So that's a good thing. And now they're going to continue ordering more of them, I guess.
We hope so. We'd like to provide this service for any big industrial job. If you're dealing with 2, 3, 4-inch diameter anchor bolts. The question came up, you're hanging a 4,000-pound anchor bolt cage, and we said, well, how would you normally do that? Well, I don't know, miscellaneous steel and lumber and stuff. Would you hang your car over a 90-foot, this was a 90-foot deep caisson. Would you hang your car over a pit like that, 4,000 pounds on something miscellaneous? To provide an engineered solution that's simple and easy to use, that's been checked for all the deflection and sag and load and everything like that, takes all the risk out of it.
Are you looking at other future projects, thinking about where else is... obviously you're probably looking at construction, not just so much in Canada and the U.S., but just like you mentioned earlier, around the world now. There's more challenges coming up now.
Oh, absolutely.
You got to start preparing yourself for it, right? Because they're going to be... it's not going to be like just supply bolts anymore. They're going to be looking at you for more things regarding these... these foundation details. It's critical.
Well, bring it on. That's what we're here for. And we've put a lot of time and effort into thinking about these things. We wrote 2 new patents last year. We've got 2 new patents coming this year. So there's other products and innovations on the way from BoltRail.
I love it. Like a year ago we spoke, a little more than a year ago we spoke, and I was a huge fan when I first saw it here. And then all of a sudden I love seeing it grow from here, and it makes me wonder what's going to happen for next year. Like who's going to approach you and ask you to do certain things, right?
Yeah, that's the exciting
part.
But
you're and that's what you're doing. It's like you're not on, like you got the warehouse, you got the guys, the shops, and they're doing the work, but you're taking the drawings and you're figuring out, how am I going to pull this off?
Yeah. Well, it's not just me, but it's...
the team.
Yeah, it's a team effort. This wouldn't get pulled. We couldn't have done it without all the people helping out, and so. I started this, but there's a whole team now behind us. So yeah.
Are you happy where BoltRail's going right now, or you got bigger plans going on?
Very happy. There's new products coming.
Okay.
We in Alberta, we're now being represented by Harris Rebar Nucor.
Okay.
So if you guys want BoltRail in Alberta, you can get it through them. We're a manufacturer. We're looking for representation in retail and distribution. We don't want to sell direct. We sell direct if there's no representation in the area, but we'd rather supply the chain, the distribution chain. And
where can you get it here in Ontario?
We're talking to a couple guys here.
So that's what the show's going on.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
cool.
But we've got we're talking to a couple companies in California, a couple in Texas. We had a sales rep reach out from South Africa, so we might be. We'll be talking. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and the thing is, this task is done the same way everywhere in the world, and everywhere in the world they face the same challenges and the same inefficiencies and the same, problems. So,
and up until it's always been that one laborer or that person, that carpenter, or the framer, or whatever former. They're the one that's doing it.
Yeah,
tasked with doing it.
Yeah, and they're still doing it, but now instead of starting with raw materials and cutting and building and assembling and drilling and creating this template that they're going to use once and throw away. Now all they're doing is aligning the guides and fixing the bolt rail in place. They've gone from all that other stuff to they're just working with a cordless screw gun and a pocket full of form screws. And they're setting up their bolt hanging in 5 to 7 minutes. It's almost it's almost a toy, compared to what's being done.
Well, I guess the nice thing now is that when people first try it out for the very first time, they book a whole day to do it, but then it's done in minutes. And then they get the rest of the day off, kind of thing, right?
We had I was working. Well, I mean, there's never a shortage of things to do on a construction
site, right?
No, of course
not.
Right?
So, but they'll find creative ways to do things, right? But they've done the work, and it's ready, and it's go. Concrete show up. It's rock and roll. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, I just I've been in the structural consulting business for a long time, almost 30 years, and I see on the jobs that I've worked on, a guy working all day, a full work day, might do 6 to 7 anchor bolt settings, pile settings.
Yeah.
So, about 1 an hour sort of thing is what we see, what I've seen. Some jobs more complicated, and we've heard guys say 2 hours or more sometimes. Some guys are really efficient, and we can do it in about 45 minutes, but an hour or more seems to be fairly common for that task.
But now it's minutes.
It's minutes, yeah. And it's such a simple thing to set up and use, and there's a lot of different. There's about half a dozen different ways you can use it. Here's a great application of it.
You're probably that we're so used to go-to application. We're very familiar. All levels of construction, we're very familiar with this, right?
Yeah. So sonotube braced up with the picture frame at the top.
Yeah.
And for a light pole in a parking lot, right? So you got lots of room. So right now, if you're building a plywood template, now you got to cut a hole in the middle for getting your electrical out. This doesn't have that problem, and a lot more room to get your concrete in and finish around the anchor bolts and things like that. So
and reusable,
yeah. Adjustability means reusability, right?
Yeah.
So
look at that. Look how clean that looks.
Yeah, and here's a really I gotta hand it to the guys.
Oh, look what they came up with a new.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So this is the exciting thing for us is that we've seen so many guys figure out ways to solve their problems with this, and it's so simple and it's so fast and efficient. But this was really interesting for us because the existing column created an obstruction, so they couldn't. We had to get the anchor bolts closer together to, it wasn't a typical base plate.
Yeah.
And so this is how they solved that problem. And I thought it was brilliant.
I just got to have a word with him because he should be using a BoltRail if he's a framer there. What's going on with the Milwaukee?
Oh, yeah. Everybody I've talked to has a different opinion about those tools. So, yeah.
That's what I mean. I'm just looking at it going, okay, I get it. But you know what? He put it in the photo for a reason.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's there for a reason. As much as I see the BoltRail there, but it's very clever what he's done. He's basically taken what you've already created and what you've designed and patented, and now he's applied it to a unique situation.
Yes, and we see a lot of that. So I got to hand it, there's so many creative guys in this industry.
Yeah.
And actually it's funny because we put a lot of thought into developing this product to be as innovative and versatile as possible, but it's really exciting for us when we see what people are doing with it because they're coming up with ways to use it that we had not thought of, right? And so that's the really exciting thing. You've created something versatile when somebody can take it and use it to solve a problem, but it's not something that you had ever considered or thought that. There's another photo on. That's the one. So here.
Oh, look at that.
So those swivels, the supports, you can see they've been put in from the, they come out, right? So you take it out, and he's put it from the other side. This is a footing for a freestanding crane that was going inside of an existing building. So they're pouring up against the existing grade beam. So they don't have form on one side.
No.
But the nice thing is, so you don't see the other end of it, but it's sitting on the form on one side, on the support that's there. The second support you see there has been flipped to the top side, and they've hung it from that 2x4 that they've nailed to the wall. The great thing about this is the underside of that bolt rail is now free and clear for finishing. There's nothing obstructing it, nothing in the way, right? So, if you were doing, it's very clean and so fast. You can see that diamond-shaped window there. That's to site your survey marks. So where the anchor bolts would pass through and project onto the foundation. So that's so you can find, if your bolts have to be, let's say, 30 inches from the one corner of that inside wall, you can measure that out, mark it, and then find that mark in that diamond sight window so you're exactly in the right location.
So that's just basically more and more they're playing with your ideas and then getting it on the job site, applying it to that job site.
So I don't know if they can see this.
We could totally you could totally see that. So that's basically it right there.
So that's the holders that sit in the rail. Made from automotive grade nylon, glass fiber reinforced, really strong stuff. It's called a super tough nylon, rated to cold temperatures. But I'll show you guys the system here. So that slides within the rails, and you can fasten that in place like you've seen. Since that photo was taken, we've switched to form screws, which have a duplex head on them. They're way better for this application. But these guys are sleeved, right? So I've got a 3/4 inch hole that I can switch to a 1 inch hole that I can switch to a 1/4 inch hole on the fly. So I can handle the 3 most common bolt sizes in one system without picking up a tool. Some of the feedback we've gotten in the last year, there's been a few occasions where this product was credited with saving the pour. They told us that if it had not been for BoltRail, they would have canceled concrete pouring. And one of those situations was a job where drawings were showing 1 inch bolts.
Okay.
And at some point, a change was made to 1/4 inch bolts, but the drawings were never updated. So when the structure, when everything showed up to site, you had 1/4 inch bolts.
Yeah.
And had the templates been pre-built, as they usually are, they would have been the wrong size. And we asked the guys what they would have done had those templates been built for
they
1
would
inch.
have called the pour off.
They would have called the pour off. They would have taken the templates off, back to the shop under a drill press, drilled them out. 2-3 days later, they would have rescheduled the pour. But
they would have still been charged the pour. There would have been some fees.
There would have been some fees for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Not just that, the schedule loss.
Yeah,
right?
that's what it is.
But with this system, they were able to just pop out the next sleeve and they were ready to go. They didn't have to.
Are guys keeping the sleeves?
Yep.
They're probably hanging on to the sleeves in a little bucket of some sort.
Yeah, put them in a bucket or a box.
Because you never know. Another job will come along and you just do this and use that. So it makes a lot of sense.
One of the earliest adopters of the product, smaller construction company out of Alberta, Steel Bull, they had a job where they had late access to the site. There was another trade working and they had to wait till they were out. And we got the call. They were pretty excited because they thought they were going to cancel the pour. They had 2 hours to set up 8 pile caps before the concrete arrived. If I'm recalling the timelines correctly, 2 hours. So it was eight sonotubes. They formed them up, braced them up, put the rebar in and everything. Concrete showed up. No templates were built, but they had BoltRail. It was their first use. And they said they were able to keep ahead of the pour. So they set up the anchor bolts on one pile cap.
Wow,
and while that pile cap was being poured and finished, they had the next one done. And while that one was being done, they had the next one done. And, they called us up. They were really excited. Like, that's just never happened before. Like, we could never do that.
No.
Like, if we're building
not the traditional way.
Not the traditional way.
But the crew on that day was probably earning their keep. Right,
yeah.
Because they were hustling, but they were probably loving it too, eh?
Yeah.
Like just being ahead of the game, just that little moment there.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share before we quickly get looking at wrapping up?
Well, let's go through a couple of these. I think there's one quick video there, if we can. It's pretty short, but this is our demo unit for some of the custom work that we can do.
The mock-up. Okay, all right.
So just to sort of give you guys an idea of what we can do, engineered systems. Steel and aluminum, sliding on bearings, easy to position, locks in place.
Wow.
And then this is a clever little feature. We can lock this system onto the bolts with this key. So the bolt goes in, and then that gets dropped in place, and then it locks it in so that it can't shift out and whatnot. So
this is coming right now. Or are you just messing around with this?
No. This is
okay.
This would be custom shop work. We'll, depending on the size of bolt you're doing, we'll engineer and fabricate a custom system for your specific needs.
Because I guarantee you, Arda, is that the industry is going to be asking you for that.
I hope so.
It's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So, absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I hope you have a good show here and walking around and checking out things.
Yeah.
And everybody, I'm encouraging check them out at www.boltrail.com, and also reach out to him at ARDA at boltrail.com, and also info@boltrail.com, and on IG it's bolt.rail, and the CCE booth is booth number 3035. What hall is it? Three. That's it, man.
Yeah, thanks, Manny. It's been a pleasure. Yeah,
absolute pleasure. I saw you last year, and then we saw you on the show, and then
we'll see you next year
for sure. We'll see what's going on new wise, right? I'm always interested in that stuff. So
and if you make it out to Edmonton, give us a shout.
I will one day, because I keep on bumping into more people that have left Ontario or working on the Edmonton.
We'll show you around.
I'd love to check it out.
Yeah,
I love that.
All right,
we're out of here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.